family all across all social media platforms. Tremaine, Mr. Hard Pivot, is here tonight once again. And as promised, guys, I am not alone. I've been hyping him up. I've been telling you about him all week. He's here, he's live, and he's in living color, right? Mr. Trevor Martin himself. No matter where you're trying to go, I think he might know Elon, man. They might be able to send you to the moon somewhere. I don't know. This guy's so cold, man. So what's going on, Trev, man? How you doing? That's Mr. Trevor Martin, guy. How you doing today, man?
Hey, man, listen, Tremaine, I am so excited to be a guest on your show. I've been watching. I've been following you. I love the show. I love everything you're doing with the show. I wake up sometimes and I remind myself that sometimes you have to make a hard pivot.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So just the whole message and the movement is wonderful. And hey, man, I want to have some fun with you on this show.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. Hey, without further ado, I had some questions just in my head, and I thought I'll just ask questions off the top of my head. But then people were emailing me questions, and then I had so many questions, so I had to make sure you had to write them down. So make sure you give me. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. That was sent to me. Now, my son been messing with my phone, of course. Right? Of course. You would have.
That's what they do, right?
Yeah. So, but let me just start off by saying that until I find my notes here. So, you're in the travel business, right? That's your business. That's what you do. Just real quick, what is that? What entails a travel business? What does that entail? What is the travel business?
Well, in travel, there's several different ways you can get into travel. Some people they join travel clubs. You want to do discounted travel, so you go through a travel club. Sometimes people go through like a network marketing opportunity. Like, you should be here. Like, you've seen those signs before. And they're all good for different purposes. But for me, I'm actually a travel advisor, a travel professional. So what I actually do is I help people take care of the load of putting together the pieces of travel. Okay. So in other words, travel since the pandemic is not the same as it was before the pandemic. You can tell in just the prices. Like gas is not even the same, right? Like you look at some of the tickets now, you're like, I'm not about to spend that much money to go to Atlanta. That is crazy. But we know that due to inflation, prices have went up. So when the pandemic started, at one point we couldn't go nowhere.
Okay, yeah.
So when we couldn't go nowhere and things started to open up, it was restrictions. So a lot of people found themselves needing to have an expert to kind of help them navigate through the restrictions. Because the worst thing you want to do is you fly there and get stuck.
Yes. Yes. So we're gonna definitely touch.
And don't have the proper insurance, and your insurance don't cover you there. So now you just suffering in the hospital,
So how long have you been in the business? Like how long have you been in the business?
Good question. It feels like I just joined yesterday, but I actually been in for about 4 years now.
Oh, have you? Okay. Yeah. Oh, no wonder you're so good at what you do then. Okay. So what prompted you to do this type of business? What started you? So before 4 years ago, real briefly, what were you doing? And then what got you into doing this?
Good question, man. What happened was I've always wanted to travel, right? Like my family, we didn't have it financially, so I didn't really get to travel like the way I would want to travel. So I would go to school and I would have like my friends tell me, hey, we just went to Puerto Rico for the summer. We just went to England for the summer. And I'd be like, oh, that's nice. I went to the YMCA for the summer. That's right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I lived right next to the airport. So as a kid, I used to look at the planes fly and used to try to guess where were they coming from. So what happened is I ended up joining the Navy because out of all the branches of service, I knew the Navy, they're going to travel, right? Okay. So the Navy, by joining the Navy, I was able to see about 8 different countries. I even lived in Greece. Oh, wow. So I traveled to Spain. I've been to Israel. I've been to Egypt. And by traveling to those different places, I said to myself, I want to be able to do this more often, but I want to also help other people do this. So fast forward, I was in my reserves, like I was in the Navy reserves. I'm off active duty now. And one of my good friends, Regina, I noticed she travels a lot, and I'm trying to figure out how she traveling so much. So she told me she was a travel agent. So I said, well, how do you become a travel agent? and she put me on to an opportunity where you could become a travel agent, and then that's how I got started.
Okay. So I didn't even think about. That's why your insight is so good, because you actually had firsthand experience with a lot of these places. Like, so many people want to go to Egypt, to
Right.
touch Israel, to go to these places. You've been there.
Right.
Oh man, that's awesome. So let me just jump to something real quick, because this is one of the questions that was emailed to me. By being you said you're travel, what do you call it, an agent, right?
Yeah, you could say agent. I prefer advisor, but it's
advisor. Okay,
right.
travel advisor. So 2 questions that got sent to me.
Okay.
One, the most expensive package that you've ever booked for somebody, and the least expensive package. Now, I don't know why somebody would want to know what's the least expensive. Maybe that's the one they can afford. I don't know.
Right,
But those
right,
are 2
right.
questions I got. What's the
Well,
most
that's a good
expensive
question.
package?
That's a good question. Well, let me address the first one, the most expensive. Well, I had a client who was celebrating their 50th birthday party. So we was gonna do the big family get together. That was like over like $60,000 or whatever, just to get everybody together, go to Jamaica. Right.
Wow.
Unfortunately,
Uh-oh.
thanks to COVID, that
Oh.
trip was canceled. So the most expensive that I booked successfully would be a girls' trip that's going to Italy. They're going to explore the Amalfi Coast. So this is like going to be really great, because they're hitting all the hot spots, and it's a luxury girls' trip. So
Oh man.
that's amazing. Now the
Okay.
cheapest,
Yeah. That's nice.
Atlantic City. I had some
The-
neighbors in New
See,
Jersey.
I didn't want to say the cheapest. I
Right.
said the least expensive, but
But
yeah.
the least expensive would be
But
Atlantic City.
but
Hands
they
down.
booked it.
They
Okay.
booked.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, another one of the questions, and I wasn't sure how they were phrasing this, but they asked, what are some of the best ways to travel? I don't know. I think I kind of interpreted it as, I don't know, whether plane, boat, train, go, I don't know. What's the best way to travel?
Well, it's a good question. I would say it depends on what's your style of travel, right? Because if you're a person that wants to enjoy the most time that you're going to spend in a location, then a road trip, or the taking the train might not be the best option for you. You might just say, I'd rather just fly there and be okay. Whereas
Oh,
some people, you might like something off the beaten path. So you might want to try doing a train vacation, or even taking a road trip, just because it gives you the option to stop at multiple places. Now, if you're asking which is the best method to go through travel, I would say one of the best would be cruises, because a cruise is kind of like 2 vacations in one.
never been on a cruise.
Listen, on a cruise ship, you got everything you can possibly think of.
I
It's
just
on
can't
the ship.
imagine. I just can't
It's
imagine
amazing.
being in the middle of that ocean, man.
Yeah,
My mind says I would feel so helpless. Now, I don't mind. I'll fly. I'll jump out of the plane. I'll
right.
fly. But
Mm-hmm.
just the boat, I just won't do it, man. I don't know. Maybe one day, but
You,
yeah.
you know, I have a cousin, he's the same way. He said, I know what you're saying. I know it's probably amazing, but the idea that I'm stuck in the water, and if something happened, we just out here. I
Yes,
don't
sir. But I heard it's amazing, though. I heard
It
it's
is
like
amazing.
it's like a heavenly experience. I heard. Okay. Well, in your opinion, what's the best tourist attraction in your opinion? So by a person that's been around the world, been in the
Mm-hmm.
different. What's the best like tourist attraction that somebody asks you, where should I go? In your opinion, where would you suggest?
Well, see, it depends, right? Because for some people, like example, I live in New Jersey,
Okay.
right? So even though it's common for me to see like the Statue of Liberty, and to see the all the amazing sites there are in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to it. But
Okay.
from traveling and being in countries with people who never saw that, like they never felt what it's like to ride the subway, they don't know what it's like to have a New York pizza, or have like a Chicago hot dog, or one of their deep dish pieces, I would just sit there and say that overall it depends on the person. I would say if they never been to the United States, you have to go to New York. You have to go to New York. You have to go to Miami.
Okay.
I want you to see Chicago. You cannot not go to the West Coast and at least go to Vegas or
Mm-hmm.
California. But for people who are in the US, you definitely want to go to Europe. definitely. Africa is beautiful.
I want to get there one
It's a
day.
different type of beauty. And
Is
it's
it?
like Ghana, Morocco, South Africa, just so many different places that if you go there, you'll feel like I belong here. Like it gives you that home feeling, even though you're visiting. So I would
Mm.
definitely recommend once in your life, definitely go to the motherland. That's definitely.
Okay, so speaking of like Italy, Africa, Israel, Egypt,
Hmm.
New York, Chicago,
Hmm.
you see where I'm kind of going with this, right?
Right.
Do safety precautions. Like, do people ask you about safety precautions and like going different places, what they should or shouldn't do? Are there some rules, unspoken rules in different places that you make people aware of, things of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question too. You whenever I send someone somewhere, like if they're going to, let's say, Dubai,
Okay.
for example, I
Mm.
always make sure that they're aware of what's the customs of the land or where they at. Like, what are some things to look out for? Because people do different things in different places, and
Okay.
like where we're from, it might be okay for you to just snap pictures and do whatever it is you want to do, long as you're not damaging something.
Okay.
Whereas if you go to another country, that can be a crime.
Like a literal in
Like
jail, prison
it,
crime?
like yes,
Oh
because
wow.
if you didn't ask for permission and you're just doing things,
Mhm.
it's signs there whether you can read the link, or not. You're still
Yes.
responsible for
Okay.
it. So it's things like that, and sometimes, like example, when I was in Greece, you would have people ask you for change, right? Little kids will ask you for
Mhm.
change, but they don't want change. They want you to pull out your wallet. And what would happen is when you pull out your wallet, they would grab it and run real fast,
Oh.
really, really fast. And since
Okay.
they're kids, they
Mhm.
run so fast that it's like, unless you really in shape, you're not going to be able to catch them.
And if you, yeah, probably not gonna be able to catch it because I know I wouldn't.
Yeah. So
It's a funny
it's
story.
certain things you got to look out for.
Yeah, a guy asked me at the airport maybe a month or so back. He walked up to me. I was waiting on somebody to pick him
Hmm.
up, and he asked to use my phone. Young man had on a tracksuit, tennis shoes, and I
Hmm.
said, "Well, I really." He said his girl just left, and she took
Hmm.
his phone. He's trying to catch her. I
Right.
said, "Well, young man, I'm not going to be able to catch you if you run off of my phone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hook it to my car. I'm going to
Right.
dial the number to talk." I said,
Right.
"No offense, brother, but you in a tracksuit and gym shoes. I know I can't catch you."
Yeah.
So
He
I
not even going
understand
to
what you're
attempt to
saying.
run
I
either.
said, he said, "I appreciate you just keeping it 100." So that was cool, man. Okay, so that I know most people like to travel with their family and friends
Right.
and travel in groups. And I'm quite sure you came across people that traveled alone. Is that something you recommend, or do
Hmm.
you even mention it when you see certain people traveling alone to certain places? I guess that's along the safe security lines, like safety lines. Okay.
Right. Most definitely. And that's a good question because you know what? A lot of people, believe it or not, are traveling alone.
Oh
Like a
yeah.
lot of people, yeah,
Okay.
what happens is they'll take a solo vacation
Mhm.
and they'll realize that, as long as they're aware of their surroundings and aware of where they at, once
Mhm.
they do it, it's kind of like, well, I know I'm cool if I stay here.
Okay.
I'm not really going to leave this area. So they
Mhm.
kind of feel comfortable because they'll do their tours and stuff with a group anyway. But I always say you have to be aware, especially if you're a female and you're traveling to certain places, because,
Okay.
like I said, the rules of the land is different, and
Okay.
some of those people over there, the way they behave themselves, you might not be used to, and you don't know how they get down in those areas.
Okay.
I would rather you be safe than sorry. So.
Sounds okay. Okay. Yeah, that was a question sent in, and this question was sent in email, and they asked. Uh, I think you kind of touched on it in the beginning, but as far as are you like a sole proprietor to what you do, or are you part of a franchise? That's what they want to know, and they want to know if
Mhm.
how to be involved. How would they get involved outside of contacting you, of course? But how does that work? Is you sole proprietor, or do you? How does that
Mhm.
work? I don't know. I couldn't explain it.
Okay, that's a
Mhm.
good question. It's a
Okay.
very good question. Well, I'm not in a franchise.
Okay.
To answer that part of the question, yes, it is a sole proprietorship. What it is that I work with a host agency, and what a host agency does is they pretty much do the heavy lifting of the business. So you take the marketing, the training, building the relationships with the suppliers. they take care of that part of the business for you.
Okay.
Whereas your business is still 100% your business. So
Oh,
you're
okay.
still 100% responsible for your business. But the host agency, where their partnership helps you, is that gives you leverage. Because now you can use, instead of you getting your own license to work with this type of deals or to work with these type of suppliers, they already have the relationships in place.
Mhm.
So now you're leveraging those relationships so you can build your brand, and they take a small percentage out, which really is nothing compared to what it would cost you if you try to do it on your own.
Trying to do all these things individually and
Yep.
create all these relationships and the longevity, the time it would take.
It's
Okay,
not,
that makes
the
a lot
juice
of
is not worth the squeeze.
sense. Okay, that's the best way to put it.
Right.
Okay, so is this setup here the way your business is?
Mhm.
Is it one that eventually grows to hire people, or is it typically something that's usually a one or two person operation typically, or do you like hire people?
Well, that's a good question. Now, me right now, as of the moment, I'm not hiring
Okay.
at the moment. But I will say this: if your business scales, and it
Mhm.
will, if you keep working it right, it will
Okay.
scale. You're either going to have, well, you're going to have a great system in place just so you're not overworking yourself. But even then, you're going to need some additional help. So I would think with any agency, as you grow, you should look forward to helping people, because you're providing opportunity for them, and they're helping you take care of something that gives you more of your time so you can focus on working on the business and not necessarily always in the business.
Perfectly said. Okay, like I said to you earlier, man, I appreciate you coming by. I didn't want to hold up too much of your time. I know you're a busy man. I totally appreciate it, man. You just don't know how much I appreciate this. So just any final tips and thoughts for the viewing audience, and of course, outside, I put the text message on there to travel to your number, and any other ways to reach you that you may have. Any
Well,
final
yeah.
thoughts? Mhm.
Well, once again, Tremaine, it's been my pleasure, man, coming on your show. I love it. I love it. I love the message you have, and how you break down things that seem complicated and make it seem very simple, just by telling people they had to at some
Yes.
point make that hard pivot.
Okay.
To reach me, guys, you can find us at www.phenomenaltrip.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Phenomenal Trips. We have a amazing Facebook group where we do giveaways a couple times a month. We have a newsletter where we educate you on, if you're a veteran, here's some military discounts you can get. If you're a
Mm.
nurse or a teacher, here's some discounts that you can get. Here's some ways that you can save on your travel, what bags to use if you fly certain airlines, so you don't have to pay for that additional bag. This could just be your personal, if you know what I mean. So we give out the little tips and the jewels in the newsletter.
My man. Okay, Mr. Trevor Martin, the phenomenal trips. You heard it, guys. Hey, text travel to 908-220-1919. And hey, that's right to him. You'll get to speak to the man yourself, right? It's no secretary, no recordings. He gonna pick the phone up and he
That's
gonna
right.
make your dreams come true. He's been there, Egypt, Africa, Israel. I mean, all the places that I just want to go. So I
He gonna
definitely gonna
get you
hook up
there.
with you, brother. I'm gonna get to those places everywhere except that boat. I think I'm going right. So, but man, it's been phenomenal having you on the show. I appreciate you, man. God bless you, your family, your business, and your life. You know what I mean, and everything that you have going on, man. That energy that you put out there is always awesome, and may God reciprocate it to you and your family. All right, brother. Thank you
I
guys so
appreciate
much.
it.
Audience, get with this guy all year long, not just the summertime, winter, spring, fall, summer, and in between. Like I said, I think he knows Elon. He might got something set up for the moon here soon. I'm telling you. All right, guys. So, like as always, guys, I don't know you. I believe in each and every one of you guys. So why don't you? Have a good night, guys. All right, Trev. Thanks.